1 year, 69 games, 91 goals. The year Messi broke football.
És Xavi per Messi, compte que aquesta és bona. Atenció, Messi, xuta, Messi!
Abre la pelota para Alexis, segundo de Don Andrés cap a la punta esquerra para Adriano.
There is a record in football right now that has stood for over a decade. One player set it in one calendar year, scoring more goals than 13 entire professional football clubs managed across a full season. The closest anyone has come since is 22 goals short. That is a full season's output for a proper striker at a Champions League club. I know how that sounds. And the first time most people hear the full story of what Lionel Messi did in 2012, the actual month-by-month detail of how it unfolded, they find it genuinely difficult to believe. So here is exactly what we are going to do. I am going to walk you through that year from January to December, and I have saved something for the very end, the part of 2012 that never makes the highlight reels, because it is the part that changes how you see all 91 goals entirely. By January 2012, Messi had already won the Ballon d'Or 3 times in a row. That is the award given every year to the single best footballer on the planet. He had already led Barcelona to multiple La Liga titles and a Champions League. He had already, by any honest measure, absolutely bossed it at the highest level the sport offers. And yet none of that prepared anyone for what was coming. Barcelona under Pep Guardiola were at their absolute peak. Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets in midfield, a trio so technically gifted they could dismantle any pressing system in the world with simple, precise passing. Guardiola had built the entire structure of the team around one single idea: get the ball to Messi in dangerous positions as many times as possible. Messi played what is called a false nine role. Instead of standing up front waiting for crosses like a traditional striker, he dropped deep into pockets of space, received the ball facing goal, and then drove forward at defenders at full pace. Pure silk. A system built exclusively for him. What nobody anticipated was the level at which he was about to use it. The only side pushing Barcelona that season was Real Madrid under Jose Mourinho. Madrid were hungry, physical, and absolutely determined to reclaim the top of Spanish football. The competition was proper. The pressure was real. And then something in Messi shifted. January 4th, Barcelona versus Osasuna in the Copa del Rey. Messi scored twice in a 4-0 win. Clean, clinical. 4 days later, he collected his 3rd consecutive Ballon d'Or. Whatever hunger that gave him showed up immediately. 2 more goals against Real Betis the following week. Then his first hat-trick of the year against Malaga. Messi scored 9 of them in 2012. 9 separate occasions where he put 3 or more past a goalkeeper in 90 minutes. February looked like a slowdown. 1 goal against Racing Santander. 1 against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. The pace seemed to be dropping back to something approaching normal. Then on February 19th, in a 5-1 win against Valencia, he scored 4 goals in 1 match. The slowdown was not real. He was simply reloading. March was when the footballing world stopped and genuinely started questioning what it was watching. In the first week of the month, Messi scored 5 goals against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League round of 16. 5 goals in 1 game in the most competitive club competition on earth. It had never been done before in the entire history of the Champions League. Not by Pelé, not by Ronaldo, not by anyone who had ever laced up a boot at that level. People who had watched football their whole lives sat in front of their televisions after that game and could not find the words. He did not stop. A goal against Racing Club, 1 more against Sevilla, then a hat-trick against Granada that made him Barcelona's all-time top scorer in official competitions. He was 24 years old. He had not even reached his supposed peak yet, and he was already the greatest scorer in the history of one of the biggest clubs on earth. After the Granada game, Guardiola stood in front of reporters and said, "We are witnessing the best player in every sense. He does everything, and he does it every 3 days. I am sorry to those that want to sit on his throne, but this lad is the best." 4 days later, Messi scored again, against Mallorca. By the end of March, Messi had scored 30 goals in 3 months. Robin van Persie won the Premier League Golden Boot that same season with exactly 30 goals, playing every game from August through to May, a full 10-month campaign. Messi matched him before the first week of April. In the same amount of time most elite strikers score 8 or 9 goals, Messi had equaled the best Golden Boot total in English football. Clinical does not come close to describing it. April brought 2 more goals against AC Milan in the Champions League quarterfinals. More goals against Zaragoza, Getafe, Levante, and Rayo Vallecano. By May, the European season record had fallen. The previous best was 67 goals in a single European season, set by Gerd Müller of Bayern Munich. A 40-year-old record, considered nailed on to stand forever. When Messi broke it, Müller himself called to congratulate him and said it was an honor, What Müller did not yet know was that Messi was only halfway through what he was actually building toward. The Spanish domestic season ended with Messi having scored 50 goals in La Liga alone, not 50 across all competitions. 50 just in the league, 73 in total across every competition he played in. The single-season top scorer in the entire history of European club football. And the calendar year still had 6 months remaining. June, a goal against Ecuador, a hat-trick in a 4-3 win against Brazil, one more against Germany. August, a brace against Racing Santander, a goal against Real Madrid in the Spanish Super Cup. September, goals against Paraguay, 2 goals in 4 minutes against Getafe, a brace against Spartak Moscow in the Champions League. On the bounce every single week. October was when everyone realized what was actually coming. Gerd Müller had scored 85 goals in the 1972 calendar year. That record had survived every great player who came after him. Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Thierry Henry, Raúl. None of them got within 20 goals of it. It was a worldie of a record, not described as untouchable as a figure of speech, but as a genuine footballing fact the sport had simply accepted as permanent. Messi scored a brace against Real Madrid, goals against Uruguay and Chile with Argentina, a hat-trick against Deportivo de La Coruña in a 5-4 win, a brace in a 5-0 thrashing of Rayo Vallecano. November, braces against Mallorca, Zaragoza, Spartak Moscow, and Levante. Relentless. Every single week. Then, December. 2 goals against Athletic Bilbao, 2 goals against Real Betis. Those 4 goals took Messi's total for the year to 86. Müller's record, protected as sacred for 4 decades, was gone. Messi kept going. 2 more against Cordoba, 2 against Atletico Madrid, and 1 final goal against Valladolid in a 3-1 win. And the absolute total is 91. Now here is the part nobody talks about. Messi scored more goals in 2012 than 13 entire La Liga teams managed across the full season. The complete squad of Racing Santander, goalkeeper, defenders, midfielders, forwards, all of them combined, scored 28 goals in 38 league games. 1 goal every 122 minutes as a team. Messi alone scored 1 goal every 66 minutes, and Barcelona still did not win La Liga that season. Real Madrid took the title. Barcelona lost to Chelsea in the Champions League semi-finals, one of the most painful nights in the club's modern history. The team around the greatest individual season in football history still bottled the competitions that mattered most. Messi carried everything he possibly could. It was not enough for the trophies. That is what 91 goals actually looks like from the inside. One man doing something the sport had never seen, while the club around him came up short in the moments that defined the season. Mbappé scored 56 goals in a calendar year in 2022. Haaland had his extraordinary season at Manchester City. Both of them are genuinely world-class. Neither came close to 91. Whether the sport will ever again produce the exact combination of player, system, teammates, schedule, and moment that made it possible is a question the game has never been able to answer honestly. But here is what I want to know. Were you watching football in 2012? Was there a specific goal, a specific game, a specific moment that made you stop and think, this player is simply not from this planet? Drop it in the comments, because the people who watched that year carry something that no highlight reel can ever fully give back.